Hey again, my beautiful people. Why it's like me up on a video spree today? Eh? It's like me up on a video spree today. I tell you, oh my goodness, oh my gracious. God is good all the time, all the time. God is good, yeah. God is great all the time, all the time. God is great. No matter what you're going through, no matter how things look, in your circumstance, you might think that that's not the case, but it is the case, my beautiful people. You know, by my mind, but me always I think about something. Something always I think about. I don't know if it's because I'm in the mode right now of reading the Bible entirely. It's like I'm processing a number of things that I read. You know, things that you grew up hearing. For example, the children of Israel that Moses led out. They were wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. And the older generation did not cross over into the promised land. In fact, it was just what Joshua, the younger generation, and Caleb. And Joshua meaning Joshua from the old generation, you know, and Caleb from the old generation, basically. And they were the ones who were very much in respect of and the honoring of God. And I thought about the whole thing about, you know, you hear the reason why they didn't come over, and it's because they were a set of complaining persons. But when you really examine it, you know, people, when you really and truly examine it, because I said God, why me always come to God with some, you know, your mind process things on the basis, not necessarily because of concrete terms, but some core things you'd want to make sense to you, so you can get the understanding of it deeply. Because the Bible says in Corinthians, you know, that chapter about love, somewhere along that chapter, at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it says, for we know in part and we prophesy in part, but that which is perfect is to come. That's when we will basically know everything. So really, when God comes again, then he will, you know, tell us some of the things that we couldn't have understanding of. I'm not sure if these are core things. I don't want it, because what you may consider something core, but it may not be on this earth to God. That's the only thing I can say. So I'm saying that to say this: the complaining situation. As you get older, you know when you're a child, you drink milk, but as you get older, milk can't help you. The sustenance in that is not strong enough, you know. So when you hear the story, okay, because they complain, I say, okay. And it's not nice to be around a complainer. It's not even nice when you're watching yourself complaining, because you become so miserable and bitter and all of that. But you heard the words that I mentioned, miserable and bitter. And when I really read it, you know, like while I was reading that segment of it with Moses and them, and they were, they bordered on it. They bordered on having an unclean heart. An evil heart. There were two persons in particular. I think they were, you know, somewhere along the line was trying to get people against Moses. Dathan, I think his name is, an Abiram. And I'm thinking about the fact that behind Moses, but imagine Moses put his life on the line, going to Pharaoh, going back to where his homeland, call it, where he grew up, you know, and having to talk to Ramesses and having to say to himself, you need to let these people go. And him have to go back and back and back and all, when they were for different plagues and all of that, until the last one where the firstborn sons of those Egyptians died, you know, including Pharaoh's own. That's when he let them go. And when they were about to cross over and they saw the Egyptians come, they start complaining from this, and I said, better God, they leave way. They were extremely ungrateful. They were more than just, they had a very critical and a negative spirit. Their hearts were very bitter, because imagine God delivered them and they didn't trust God. They saw miracles, and me and you would have loved to see this idea, you know. See Red Sea part. See, man, you just see, it's like looking at going to the beach and just seeing it split in two, and dry land appears in the middle. And then when the enemies come, it washes them away. You know what I mean? And their hearts were almost like hearts of sepulchre. Their hearts were just unclean. When I read it, I said, God, me come like me would have killed them off myself as a human being too. Me can't understand. It didn't make any sense. I said, boy, God, it kind of harsh still, you know. But if you read the Bible, that's why it's important to read it, it said that they spoke against Moses behind his back when Moses meant well for them and he tried everything, where became so overwhelmed and had to get, persons to lead, different, leaders to lead, like 70 or thereabout. You get me? Even his own sister spoke against him behind his back. Leprosy took over, and the same brother, if you pray and say, God, please take it away from her. Maybe we said, do my sister. I know she did wrong, but forgive her. She probably didn't even know what she do or what she say. But the people were filled with bitterness. That's what complaining does. It creates bitterness. It creates guile inside of your heart. It creates guile inside of your soul. Because remember, the soul man, that is why you see a number of Christians don't really change. Because the soul man is not change. The soul man is really a composite of your emotions, very important, your feelings, and your mind. So you see how powerful the soul is? It's like your computer CPU. If that go bad, everything just basically go bad. It's like looking at the monitor alone. So those children, they were filled with bitterness and they were very ungrateful and they were pretentious. They spoke, how can you really, like really, how you can speak against God? You really think He's not hearing you? Like when you speak against, like really? They spoke against God, they spoke against Moses. Huh? I mean, what do you think really was going to happen? God delivered them. God delivered them and wanted to bring them into a land where a better life, a prosperous life, not only financially, but mentally, socially, spiritually, physically. They would have been so blessed. They would have been leaders in their own rights. It's like a completely different life, a 360 degree, or maybe some people said it was a 360 because it carries you back right to square one, or 180 degree change, whichever way you want to say it. So complaining, it's a composite of bitterness, of strife, of hate, of malice. And when I talk about malice, I'm not talking about what Jamaicans call malice. The malice meaning don't speak to them literally, physically. Malice has evil intent in it. I'm talking about a malicious heart. And that is why the children of Israel were killed off. God never made them even dream to cross over. The older generation, that is. So people, we have to put off ingratitude. We have to put off bitterness. We have to put on a guile heart and spirit. And everything bothers you. Nothing, life won't be perfect, No care how you want to spin it. I'm sure that if you speak with the richest man in the world, what's his name there? Elon Musk. Or if you speak to Bill Gates or this one or that one, I'm sure they have their own challenges. You follow me? So my people, I beg of you, and I'm telling it to myself, because sometimes when the challenges of life comes, you have to really talk to yourself, You have to beg God. You have to literally say, no, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to be bitter. I'm not going to be unforgiving. I'm not going to be filled with strife. I'm not going to be filled with malice, as in a malicious heart, guile, and just having this evil intent and pretentious and speaking against, like really? And they spoke against God behind his back, so to speak. As if they think he's not going to hear them. And people have to be careful when you speak against people who are sincere Christians. I'm not saying this to frighten you, but God has a special protection and covering over them. You hurt them, it's like you hurt him, want him come at you for them. Please, I'm not trying to frighten anybody, but I'm so serious about it. You have some real, genuine Christians out there. You have to be very careful of the things that you say about them behind their backs. Please be very careful, my beautiful people. And let us become a people who are grateful, thankful. Our hearts are clean and pure before God. The children of Israel, the old generation, they were not. They were pretentious. They were so pretentious. Them people that will laugh with you, but they secretly might kill you inside of themselves. That's how they were. And that's why every little thing they complain that when they get the food, and when them say no punishment, or read some of them, some died. Oh, Moses, forgive me. Them come with them general self, like they think they fool God. Have mercy, God, they have on them. a mercy God did actually have on them. You understand me? When he see him deliver them and them go on, I keep saying, no man, I go make a solemn vow that una na cross over now, and I did them right here so. Spin round something should I take them what? 11 days or thereabout? Took them 40 years. And sometimes that's what happened in our lives. Because of our hearts. How we think and how we view people. It's like we have no love for people. It all boils back down to the word L-O-V-E. So we complain and we bicker and we filled with bitterness and pretense. Goodness gracious. Oh, so much fake people. Oh, no fake. You know, I don't know people fake. I don't know how people are fake. I can't. Isn't that difficult? Jeez and peas. No, sir. Me can't bother with that. I mean, even if I'm not, don't misunderstand it. I don't hate people. But there are some people that as you get around them, you just know they're funny. And your spirit just not in sync with them. And you're not too fond of them. You might not like their attitude. And I'm going to speak about their attitude. Not personality. Please, people, don't miss that one. Their character you're not fond of. And you're not fond of their attitude. Right? There's some people that you get around when you feel and you're not fond of. But you still kind of wish them well and pray for them. You follow? You still kind of wish them well and pray for them. You don't think badly. You don't try to, do badly to them. So my beautiful people, let's just stay away from the root of complaining, which is really filled with bitterness, pretense, guile, strife, hate, malice, as in maliciousness, evil intent. Let's stay away from these things, my beautiful people. All right, love you. Have a great day again. Take care. Stay sweet.